Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we are setting up my reading journal for the new year, for 2023. I'm so excited to jump into a new journal. I got this beautiful yellow Leuchtturm 1917 A5 dotted journal from my sister for Christmas, and so I am very excited to start filling out the pages. As you can see on the nameplate page, I just wrote Becca as simply as I could, and I turned to the first dotted page. On this page, I am simply writing out 2023 in bubble letters. I had this cover page similar in my 2022 reading journal setup, and I just liked the simplicity of it, and so I decided to duplicate it for my 2023 pages. To finish off the spread, I added some gray horizontal lines just to fill it in a little bit more. Turning to the next spread, I created a table of sorts where I am going to list all of the books I read in 2023. I like to have one place where I have the whole list, whereas later on when I set up the months, I do more in-depth reviews of the books. So in this table, I have a spot for the title of the book, the number that I had read it, so if it's the first book of the year, there'll be a 1 next to it, and the star rating I gave it along with the dates that I read it, so when I started and when I completed the book. On these first 2 pages, I have enough empty spaces for about 70 books, so I needed to set up a second full spread. And so you will see that transition here. I didn't want you to sit through it all, so I just created that off camera. And I'm trying to fill in the title here, but my white gel pen wasn't working, so I will go back and fill that in later. Turning to the next spread, I have my 2023 Reading in Review. I used this last year in my 2022 reading journal, and I really liked being able to track books as I read them. So with this first table, I'm just creating 12 boxes where I will put the amount of books read for each month. And then in the next parts of this review, I have spots where I can just put tally marks for where each book fits in. So for format, I have either physical, ebook, audio, or a combination. So if I read My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, which was my first book in 2023 by Frederick Bachman, I read that both physically and listened to it. So I would put that in the combination category, so I would just put a tally there. I gave it 4 stars, so I put a tally in the 4-star ratings category, which is next. I like to look at the author's demographics, so if they are male, female, non-binary, or unknown gender, and if they are a person of color. I also mark if there's any LGBTQIA+ rep in the book. I like to put a tally in what genre that book fits into. Next, I'm setting up the age demographic, so if it is an adult book, a YA, a middle grade, or a new adult book. And lastly, I like to put a tally mark in the year that it was published, just to see the range of the books that I read. This spread really helps me out when I'm looking at my stats. Flipping to the next spread, I have another tracking page similar to the Reading in Review spread I just set up, but this time I break it down into the months. So for January through December, I have a box for each month, and in each little box I keep track of the amount of books I read, the number of pages I read, the amount of fiction books versus the amount of non-fiction books I read, and then the amount of 5 stars I gave in the month. This is a good way for me to see how each month is going compared to the other months, and see if I have better reading months over others based on different things that happen in my life. And it looks like I forgot a stat to tell you about, so I also include if I finished my TBR for the month. I play a monthly TBR game. I will link that playlist up above, but I like to track if I completed that TBR or not. On this next page, I will track my Goodreads challenge or Goodreads goal for the year. I set a goal for myself to read 100 books, and so I will track my progress on this page. It'll be nice to see that progress physically in front of me rather than just on my Goodreads page. Instead of just checking off the number as I read it, I will instead mark that I read the 8th book of the year, for example, with a color, and that color will correspond to a genre. So here I am setting up a key just to let me know which color corresponds with which genre, and it'll be cool in the very end of the year to see how my books were spread out in the genres that I read most. On the next spread, I decided to just use a printable that Kayla gave us for Books and Lala's Buzzword Challenge for the year. I am hoping to complete the Buzzword Challenge that Kayla has given us, and so I decided to put this in my journal to keep track of the books that I read for each month. And lastly, I have an A to Z challenge tracker. So I just listed the letters of the alphabet, and as I read a book that starts with the letter of the alphabet, I will track it here on this page. I was able to complete my A to Z challenge last year, so I'm hoping that I can do it again in 2023. And here is the final flip through of my 2023 reading journal. We have my cover page, my place where I will list all of the books that I read in the year, my reading and review, my monthly reading review, my Goodreads challenge tracker, my Buzzword reading challenge tracker, and my A to Z challenge tracker. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Like this video on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more bookish and bullet journaling content from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!